Alright, guys, good evening, everyone. Oh, okay, guys, good evening, everyone. Please, we'll be starting immediately. As I said, even if we have just one person on board, so it doesn't matter. Since it's actually going to be recorded, and we can always share the recorded session with every other person. So probably we would assume they're actually busied up with something that's very, very important that they have to attend to. But that shouldn't be a problem for us because seriousness matters when it comes to learning. So today is day 4 and we've taken day 1, 2, 3 already. So this is day 4 and we're going to JavaScript. But before we enter JavaScript, I want to just take a quick revision of what we've learned throughout all these sessions. So first of all, I've not shared my screen. So let me share my screen first. So today is day 4, so things need to start changing. Okay, so alright. Alright, so I said I'm going to take a quick revision of what we've learned all this while because I think today's class shouldn't be time taking. Though this is JavaScript actually, so it will take a lot of time. But still, I'll just try to make it as fast as possible because the things we have for today are not really quite much. Yeah, so let me just go to our browser. So I'm using this to open my live server and my yes, okay. So now we've taken HTML and CSS during the last few sessions we had. So during day 1, day 2, and day 3, we've taken HTML and CSS together, and we are going JavaScript today. Let me open my live server first of all. But before I go into that, a quick recap on what we've learned. This is HTML. We want to have an HTML file or an HTML page. You need to create an HTML file, which is something .html. Like you need to have the extension .html. For CSS is what .css. So you can give your file any name. For example, if you want to have a login page, you have login.html. If you want to have sign up page, you have probably register.html or sign up.html. If you want to have probably contact us, so you have contact us.html and the like. So that's how everything actually works. So you can actually also have index.html. Probably in your website you have so many pages and you want to just one page to be the home page. So you can use like index.html for that. And basically that's just how we work on this file structure. So we also have images as well. So if you want to import images too, I've taught us about that. So let me just go to this. Where is the first file we created? This index.html file, where we actually talked about a lot of things. So as a quick recap as well. So this title, so I'll just be touching the important parts. So this title is what we are going to be seeing in the browser tab at this point. This new tab of the thing. So this is what we'll be seeing the title. So it's like the title of the web page. So this is where we actually set it up inside the head section over here. Then we have this link as well to import our CSS. So we have link and an attribute of rel that has the value of style sheet. Then the href, you can choose to omit this, yes, but it's better to add it because to make your browser know that okay, I'm trying to import a CSS file or like a style sheet. Okay, so then we have the href, which is the location of your CSS file. And this is actually for external styling. I told us about external styling, internal styling, and inline styling. So this is for external styling. Remember, we have a separate CSS file over here that I'm trying to import. So that's just for that. Let me go back to the page. So this is just for that as well. Then we have the body section where we have everything. Okay, so where we have everything that is showing up on the website. So first of all, we have this H1. I said we have H1, H2, H3 up to H6. So as the number decreases, as the number increases, the size decreases. You get, so H1 is the biggest heading, H2 is smaller than H1, and H3 is smaller than H2. So like that, we have our H6. So look at what we have here now. This is an example of inline style. Remember, we have our style attributes, and we have like a property and a value. So we have the style equal to then as an attribute that has double quotes to surround the values. So we have the thing we want to change, which is the property in the CSS, and the value we also want to change it to as well. So that's just for that. Then we have the text style our heading. So the same thing is what we did. Okay, so this is actually a paragraph. Then it's an anchor element. Anchor element in the sense that it is used to navigate from one page to another page within HTML. So it has an attribute of href. So it takes another attribute as well, but this is one of the major attributes it takes. Href equals to. So we put the location of the page we want to go to. I said something about links. I said we have absolute link and relative link. So this is an example of absolute link. whereby you are trying to go to a page on a different server or a different resource. For example, if you are on facebook.com and you want to go to the messages, or you want to go to the notifications, so it's always something like facebook.com/ let's say messages, for example. So you see this link itself, if you are going from your own browser, like from a different website, let's say you are on google.com and you want to go to this URL, this is actually is an absolute URL. But let's say, for example, you are on facebook.com server and you have a file named probably messages and you want to enter that particular file. Basically that's how everything works on Facebook and other websites. So every page is an HTML file on its own. But when you go to advanced sections, you see that we also have different formats for different pages too. Like for React.js now, we have them in component form. So let's say, for example, you are on Facebook server now. You don't need to put this facebook.com/ and just come over here and just remove this, and you have this dot and / messages. So this is an example of a relative URL whereby you're trying to access something inside your own folder, not something outside your folder. So that's just for that as an example. Then we also have we have our list. I told us about the list as well. So we have the ordered list and the unordered list. So for the ordered list now, every form of list have an li and an li inside. So li is like the list item. OL is for ordered list in the sense that it is numbered with 1, 2, 3, ABC or the likes. So we also have the unordered list. So this li is each of the list items. So for the unordered list now, we have ul as the parent element and we have li as usual. So that's actually for that. Then for the images as well, so if you want to use an image in HTML as well, so you make it of the img tag. So it is the image element with the img tag. It has several attributes as well. So but one of the common ones is this src. So src is going to tell us the location of the image you are trying to access. So you can see we have the dot because it is in the parent folder. Like you are trying to leave the folder this HTML file is to its parent folder. Exactly what we actually have. You can see we have HTML. So this file is inside the folder. So you need to come to this parent folder first. That's why we make it of the dot. Then inside this parent folder, you need to access the images folder again. So this is where we actually have the image folder. To enter the folder and access the image itself by using the / my image.jpg. So that is actually about URL. So this is also another example of a relative URL. You can also make use of an image from Google, for example. So let's say, for example, you have an image. You can get the link of an image from a random website or just anywhere on the URL. So maybe you want to use that image in your website. You can just copy the image. For example, let me look for something like a phone image, for example. I want to show something. Oh, this should be phone, not phone. So I want to show something. Let's say, for example, you saw this image and you want to make it of this image. So you can just right click on this image. So you can see copy image address. So if you click on the copy image address, you can just come over here and do what? You can just Ctrl V. I hope I have not added a random something. You can see how long it is. This is not supposed to be as this, but just because the link is somewhere. So let me just click it and see if the link will be shorter. So it shouldn't be as long as this basically. Copy link address and let me see again. Wow, it's still the same thing. So that's because actually it's an image on the internet. So wow, is it as long as this? This is too long for an image. It is just too long. So you can see, oh yeah, I get that as well. So basically you can just copy the I think I opened. So come in, you open the link in the new tab. Let's see what the link brings for us. So you can see this is the link. So just go to the website itself and get the link, because this one you are getting from Google. You are getting the image based on its own location inside Google search engine. So that's why you have this form. You can see we have data, then colon, image, everything, blah blah blah. So you can even see we have a column inside the image area. This is very, very wrong. So that's because we are trying to get the image from Google itself. So you need to go to the website. You can just click on visit to enter the website of the image. Then you can see we have several images at this. So you can see the image you are looking for. So you can right click and copy link address. Then you can do the same thing for this. Let me just do this. Okay, let's see this. Okay, so you can now paste. So you can see that after pasting, the URL reduces from that long rubbish to what get image.com /details/photo blah blah blah. So now if you try to open this in your live server, you are going to see that you'll be getting this exact image in your live server. So that's actually how everything works. So it is still loading. I will show us when it loads. Then for the image, we have an alternate text which is going to display if the image cannot be found. Then we have the style as well. You can see we have the width, 100 pixels, height of that. So that's just for that as well. So we have the same thing for table. So table is the parent, TR is for individual rows, TH is for the table heading. So we will actually explain this very much on the day we touched it. Then we have the form element as well. The form is the parent, then it has several input elements inside. We talked about all this as well. So I think that should be everything. Then we have button too as well. So we have button too. So now let's see, the image is still going to load. So for the anchor element as well, that if you want to go to a different page, like a page that is on your own server, so images of something like this, you can see ./login.html, that if you click on this particular URL, it will take you to the login page. So this is the example here. If you click on this, it's going to take you to this page. So that's what to make use of the native URL. So now I think I've closed the live server. So I can just open it back with localhost. Is it localhost? Or can't even remember I can't remember. Okay, so 5500. I've forgotten what the URL actually looks like. Is it localhost 5500? So alright, so you can see, okay. So now it is in the HTML folder. Sometimes I have this thing. So you can see the image is not showing up. What is the problem facing? So let me just go and check. So as I will see, we go to this. So probably the image can be a private image. Sometimes some images are always restricted, especially on websites like this, whereby you need to download the image and it will even have like a watermark. So it means that the image is private. So some images do not allow you to just copy them anyhow and make use of them. So that's just the reason why you're having this issue. I can see that we're having this my image alternate text. Yes, so that's just about that as well. So I think we've touched a lot of things, and for the CSS too that we've touched also. So this one basically is just so straightforward that you can easily understand. And don't forget the ID and this class we discussed yesterday as well. So if you want to get an ID, for let's say for example you have an ID, you have a paragraph element, an ID of, let's say, para for example. So you have the hashtag para and the curly brace and blah blah, everything works exactly as we have it here. So this is selector, the same thing as we have a selector. This is the property, what you want to change, and this is what you want to change it to. Same thing for font size, change it to 50 pixels. So everything works exactly like that. So we've touched all this already, so I just have to do a quick recap just to refresh our memory on it. So basically today's work is something different. Today now we are going to JavaScript. Yeah, JavaScript. So JavaScript is a programming language, yes. So let me make something clear. HTML and CSS, they are not programming languages at all. They are far from programming languages. When we are listing programming languages, we must not even list HTML or CSS. Look at the name of HTML. It says hypertext markup language. It's a markup language, not a programming language. So programming language is that a language that you can use to build something that's like programmable. I don't know how to explain this better, but it's different from HTML. HTML is just like a beginner language, or a beginner is also a language, yes, because markup language, but like a beginner language, not a programming language. So don't make that mistake of calling it a programming language, yes. So programming languages are JavaScript, Python, what other one again? C++, C#, sorry. A lot of them, Django. So no, Django is a framework to Python. So a lot of them are programming languages, and they are different from HTML basically. So JavaScript is just one very interesting programming language that you can use it for front end, you can use it for back end, you can use it for creating games, you can use it for creating apps, web applications, even Android and mobile apps as well. You can use JavaScript for machine learning, you can use it for AI and many other things as well. So it's one very important programming language that you mostly see in many fields. So that's just what JavaScript is, and we don't need to go too much details about it. Probably like who created it, blah blah blah. So what is it used for? It is used for adding interactivity to our website. For example, let me just show something from this page we created. Yes, you can see this button, for example. Let me take us to this code bar. So look at this button now, for example. If you click on this button, if you want something to happen when you click on this button, like maybe you want to alert something like, or display something that says form submitted, blah blah blah. See, those things are like, they are no longer HTML or CSS work, they are now JavaScript work. To make our website interact with the users, like to make it fun in using them. So that's what JavaScript is used for. Don't worry, when we start touching some of the things, you'll see a lot of the use cases of JavaScript. So now, JavaScript is a programming language that if you want to also work on, you need to have a file for JavaScript as well. So probably I can create a folder for JavaScript.js. Then in the folder, I'll be having a file named, let's say, index.js. So it has the extension .js. So you can see we even have it already. This icon is showing up already. So click on enter so you can create your JavaScript file. So now JavaScript is different from HTML. You can see that the difference between the syntax of HTML. Look at the syntax here. you can see we have the angle bracket less than, we have the tag name greater than, we have the same thing as the closing tag, but we have the forward slash. But for CSS, we have just selectors, curly braces, we have the properties, we have the value. So you can see that these things are actually different syntax. The same thing with JavaScript as well. The syntax is not even similar to this at all. JavaScript is a programming language, and that is the syntax for majority of all programming languages. So now JavaScript has a lot of things that we need to learn about them. The first things we always teach students when it comes to JavaScript are the data types and those simple things in JavaScript. So the first thing we'll be talking about is variables. So variables is like, let's say for example, you want to assign a name to somebody. So let's say for example, I am a person, you want to assign a name to me. Let's say my name is Abdul. So when you talk of variables, things that can change. Look at mathematics, they will tell you x equal to 2, x equal to 3. So it means that the value for x can change. So that's why we call them variables. They are not constants. So they are variables because they can change, because they can vary from the name itself. So when we talk of variables, it means that we are trying to create something that can change later. So now, variables in JavaScript and the majority of all programming languages, the way we create them. So for example, we have 3 ways of creating variables. We have the let, we have the var, and we have the const. Those are just the keywords that are actually used to create a variable. So variable is used to store data. That's just the essence of the variable. We use to store data, and we can change the value of the variable later. So it's similar to how we have our attributes actually, but it doesn't have double quotes. Yeah, it have double quotes for some things. So let me just go straight to the point. So now to create a variable, as I said, we have var, we have let, and we have const. If you want to create a variable using var, so you have, let's say var something. So let's say var name, then equal to something. So now I have a double quote and say, let's say name equal to Abdul. So you can see this is different from what we have in HTML and CSS. So now this name is a variable that can change. I can come over here and say, let's say name equal to something else. Let's say like let's say Yusuf, for example. So you can see that the name has changed at this point. So when we talk of a variable is something that you assign to something to store your data. Now we have data types, a lot of data types. We have string, we have numbers, we have integers, we have floats, we have boolean, a lot of them. So I don't want us to watch things. So let me just take us through the variables first. So now this is one method of creating a variable by using the var keyword. You can see that this var keyword has the color blue, while this has a different color. That's because this is a keyword. Var is a keyword in JavaScript. So if you want to create a variable again, you can use the keyword let. So let's say let something equal to something. So that's basically how it works. So let's say let age equal to, let's say 12, for example. So let's say my age is 12. So you can see let age equal to 12. So it's like I'm trying to give values. You are trying to give values to a particular. You are trying to assign a value to a particular identifier. That's how it actually works. So the third one is the use of const. So we have const as well. So let's say const. What again? Let's say const school equal to lasso, for example. So you can see these 3 things now, they are variables. So these are variables, but they are created with different keywords. The first one was created with the keyword of var, second with that of let, and the third one with const. So these are the 3 major things. I think these are even the 3 ones I know. I don't know if there's actually any other one, but these are the 3 ones I know. Even though this var is kind of like going deprecated, so people hardly use var again, but it is still one of them. So make use of the let and the const majorly. So the difference between these 2 is that when you make use of the const, you've created a constant, not a variable anymore. It means that the value cannot be changed again. So when we say you've declared the const school as lasso, it means that you can't change the value of this school to something else later. But for let, you can change, because let something equal to something. So you can later say, okay, let it be this again. But when you say const, it means that you have made it a permanent value. So it means that you've given this value, you've given this variable name a value. So this is how actually it works. So you can see that the difference between how I created this particular variable is different from how I created this one. That's because when we talk of data types, now we've left variables that are line data types. Data types refer to the different kind of data that can be used in a programming language. So data types in the sense that you can have numbers, you can have strings, you can have integers, floats, boolean, you can have functions, arrays, objects, a lot of them. So there are many. And even in all programming languages, we have data types like this as well. So though they can differ with different languages, but basically they are just similar, and you mostly see these kind of things together in different languages as well. So now data types, now we have string, for example. So if you want to create a string, A string is like a text. It can be a word, a combination of characters, including letters and numbers and the likes. And it can actually also be a long paragraph. So that's actually a string. And if you want to write a string, you need to enclose it in double quotes or single quotes. That's how we actually have this abdul in this place. So abdul is a text. Yes, it's actually a text, or you can say is a word. So it's not a number. So now let's want to create another variable. For example, let's say, so I'm making it of the let and the const. Now I want to make it of the var. So let's say let should I say let date. Oh, let me not set of date. So date is actually a number. So let's say hobby. Okay, let's say hobby for example. So let's say hobby equal to. So now you can have a quote and say, let's say cooking. Let's say cooking is my hobby as an example. So you can see that this is actually it's no longer a word, but it's like a group of words. But still, we put them in quotes because we see everything as a string. So that's what we call a string. So string in JavaScript is a set of words, or it is a word, a set of words that includes letters, numbers, special characters, and other things as well. So if you try to remove this quote, what do you think will happen? You will see errors. So look at this red underline you have. That's because things are not going expectedly. So when you have errors like this when you are coding, especially if you are using an editor that has code alighting, so you probably be seeing the errors like this. So it means that this actually this is a syntax error, because you need to add quotes. So you can also choose to use single quotes as well. Yes, both actually works. So you can see the error is gone. So that's actually for string. Then if you want to create a number, so we also call them integers. So if you want to create an integer, what do? So let's say date of birth for example, so equal to. So now if you want to create the date of birth, you can choose to put it in quotes. For example, let's say 1990 for example. You can put it in quotes. Yes, it works, but this is no longer a number. It is now a string. So it's no longer a number. You can't add this to something else. I'll show you what I'm trying to say. So but if you probably remove this quote from it, it will still work normally, because this is actually a number. I won't be having errors for this. So that is for the string. And yes, for comments, I talked about comments in HTML and even for CSS too. In all programming languages we have comments, but their syntax are different. The syntax for comments in JavaScript is 2/. So when you have 2/, you can put just anything inside. You can see the color is even green. It looks disabled, so this code won't even work. Even if it was the correct code, it won't display. You get? So that's actually why we make it of comment. So let me use comment to make this understandable. So now let me just come over here and put the comment. So this is the variable declaration. Variable declaration with var keyword. So I can just copy this and paste here. So now this is actually with let keyword. Then this is the third one with the const keyword. So this is the const keyword. So you can see now these are comments. So this won't even display your code. Even if you come to comment this space, you can see the code won't work again. So that's what we make it of comment for. So now this is actually a string. So let me put another comment. So let's say this is a string, and this is actually this one down is also a string as well. Then this third one here is what is a number, or we call them integers. So integers. So we also have other number types and other data types as well. Apart from this one we mentioned, we have the one we call we have boolean. So boolean is like a true or false. So it can take two values, only two values, true or false. So you see things like that in this kind of format. Let me take it to lowercase. So now and again, if you are trying to create a variable, when you have a variable that says, let's say const name equal to, let's say Abdul, and you have a const name equal to Latif for example. So these two things are actually different. So you can see we are not even having an error. So that's because when you have lowercase and uppercase, these are two different things. Because JavaScript is case sensitive. Yes, if you are supposed to use capital letter and use small letter, you'll be having an error. Look at something I'm trying to say. So you can see now, putting a capital letter where you're supposed to have small letter, you are saying unknown keyword or identifier. So do you mean const? Exactly, we meant const, not capital letter C. So JavaScript is case sensitive, but it's different from the way we have it in languages like HTML, for example. in HTML now you can choose to probably put your div as capital letter div. In fact, you can even choose to use any random case. You can see I use capital letter D. You can even put your capital letter V again. Everything still works fine, but preferably you should use lowercase for all your code. Yes, it's preferable to use lowercase for everything. So now going back to our JavaScript now. So the error is actually gone already. So this is actually integers. This is just to show us the difference between a variable that has capital letter and one that has small letter. There are different things. Yes. And again, if you create a variable, you can't create that variable again with that same name. For example, when you have something like, let's say, const name equal to, let's say, Abdul, for example. I think I created a name here before. So you can see this is val. So I said something that if you create a variable using const, you can't create that variable again. So now see what I'm trying to say. If you have const name again, so you're having a problem. So let's say const name. So you can see we even started having errors already. You can see this was okay. This is not the error. So you probably say equal to, let's say, Latif. So wow, probably it's not giving us an error. So but normally you shouldn't use the same variable name multiple times basically. So it is not advisable because it might even clash with something, probably because you are trying to get data from a particular input element, but you probably, because you've made use of the same variable name, it can take the data to somewhere else. You get, so don't try to use the same variable names for different variables. So it's not advisable at all. So we've taken some of them, we've taken the data types. So the operators, yes. So when you probably want to perform some operations on JavaScript, let's say you want to add something together. So now let's say for example you have two variables. Let me just clear, or I can just leave it for now. So let's say for example you have a variable that says let number one equal to, let's say number one equal to, let's say 20 for example. Then you have a variable 2 that says let number 2, so let's say let number 2 equal to 10 as an example. So if you want to perform an operation on this, so operations are like the kind of things you can do on variables. So let's say for example we want to make our variable do something like, maybe we want to add these two together. So it's actually an operation. Operations are of various kinds. We have the arithmetic operations, we have the operation we perform on strings, operation we perform like concatenation, and that one as well. A lot of things that we have, but basically we won't be touching everything, but I can just send a PDF on that. We can actually read to understand this thing better. So let's say we want to add number 1 and number 2 together. How do we actually do that? So you can just say number one, then plus number 2. So now, if you want to display this result, how do you actually do that? So that's actually another thing we need to learn in JavaScript. So you can probably give a new variable name. Let's say let number 3, for example. Let number 3 equal. So it means that we are trying to add number 1 and number 2 together, and we are giving the value towards to number 3. So now let's say if you want to display this value. So how do you actually display the values in JavaScript? So JavaScript does not allow you to use live server at all. So it won't even go. So you can see we are not even having anything like live server on this point. Yes, because the live server is only for HTML. Yes, not for JavaScript. But how do you actually display the result of our code? So that's actually one thing we should learn. So now there are options to do this. So you can either choose to put your result in your website, like in the HTML part, or you can choose to put it in the console. So this is what I mean by console. Go to your browser and click on Ctrl+Shift+C. So you go to the browser, and yeah, I think I showed us this one earlier. So click on the console. So you can see if you probably have something to display, you are going to get it in this place. For example, after we've done this now, you can just choose to say console.log. So these are some things we carry out on our code. So if you want to display a value, you can use console.log. So let me just console.log number 3 as an example. So are we okay? Sorry. So we won't be getting any result because we've not even linked this JavaScript to any place at all. So how do we actually link it? So now JavaScript has some other ways of using it, similar to how we have it for CSS2. So you can choose to use JavaScript inside your HTML file. You come to the last part of your code before the close of the body element, which is somewhere before the body element. So make sure that it's actually the last thing you have before the body element, so that when your page is loading, everything that's like HTML loads first before JavaScript starts loading. Sometimes it might cause delay, and it can even cause like network problems when your JS is loading first. So always ensure to put your code in the last part of this your page. So now if you want to make the JavaScript on this page, you can just use the script element. So script element is used to put JavaScript inside an HTML file. So let's have the closing. Oh, sorry, doing this already. So now you can put your JavaScript code at this point, and I'll just probably be creating the same thing I created in the previous page. I'll be creating it here. So let's say we have two numbers. Let number 1 equal to 10, for example, and let's say number 2. Let number 2 equal to 20, for example. So now if you want to display these two numbers now, you can just choose to say let number 3 let number 3 equal to, so now I want to add these two values together, so we'll say number 1 then plus number 2. So it means that we are giving this particular variable a new value of the addition of these two things together. So now we want to display this in our console. Make it of the console.log. So this is actually one of the things to make use of in JavaScript to display something. So we want to display what? So what do we want to display? We want to display this number 3. So just come over and copy this and paste it inside this place, Ctrl V. So we'll await the result. Let's see. So this is the console. So let's see, is it even on this page? This is the box model of HTML. So this is not even open in live server. So let me just open this in our live server and let me close this. I'll close this too. I'll close this. So let me open this in live server. So open this exact page on your live server, which is the box model.html. Then we can actually come over to the developer options. Okay. So you can see if you come to the console section now, what do we have here? You can see we have 30. So just neglect these errors we're having. This is something you see on a regular basis. So you can see we have 30 coming from this place where we did the addition. So you can see if you change this to probably 20 now, we're having 40 here instead. So you can see we have 40. That's because we've added these two numbers together. We also have other ways of displaying results apart from this console. So console is actually used to debug majorly. Probably if you are trying to work on your website and you're having errors and you want to check where it's coming from, so you can use console.log. We also have another one we make use of, which is the alert. So alert is commonly used as well. So if you want to alert something, like you want to display on your browser, like on your own page, so you make use of the alert. Let's say you want to try to alert. So this is how everything works. Just alert and a bracket. So now the bracket is going to contain. So you can see we already have something showing up already. So the bracket is going to contain what we want to alert or what we want to display. So come to the alert section and you can just copy this value, Ctrl C, and paste it here. So it's going to alert the value. You can see we have 40. Then click on OK. You can just choose to probably change this to, let's say, 40 for example. So we're having 60. So you can see it has alerted 60. So you can see this is actually another thing that we make use of to display a particular thing inside our browser. So we have several other ways to make use of, but I think for tomorrow's schedule, we can still, yes, so we'll be talking about that tomorrow, how to put a text on your HTML part. Like how to put a text that's coming from JavaScript into your HTML. Like for example, how to display this 40 for example inside your HTML, like it's going to be like a paragraph. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow, God willing. So that's just for that. Let me see, we've talked about the console.log, then you put the value you want to display. You can actually also come to the console.log and put something like, let's say 30 plus 100 for example. Let me comment this out. Remember the comment // Then if you come back to the console, Ctrl+Shift+C on your browser tab, so you see I will be having 130 now. So let's go to the console. So you can just click on this place to open up. Okay, I think it's this place. So you can see the console. So in the console now, let me increase this size so you can see it very well. Let's reload again. So you can see we have 130. So 130 is coming from 100 plus 30. So you can choose to put a mark here itself, or you won't use the variable itself. So you can also perform addition like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and other things. Even you can perform division as well. 30 divided by 100, that's 0. something, so 0.3. So you can see that this is actually how everything works. So you wonder what are the use of mathematics in JavaScript? Yes, mathematics is actually very, very important. Some people do say that before you go into programming, you should be very good in mathematics. This is actually not 100% true, but at least it will help you in some aspects in your programming, basically. So I think we should just stop there for this particular part of the JavaScript. So we've learned about how variables work. So you create a variable by using the let keyword or the var keyword or the const keyword. Then after the keyword itself, then you have the name you want to give a variable, like the probably your x or your y. You can do something like this as well. A variable name can be a letter as well. So let's say let x equal to 3. You know the way we do mathematics that you say if x is y and y is 3, if x is 2 and y is 3, and this is that. So it's just similar to what we actually do in that as well. So this just for variables. You can use const as well, you can use var as well. So that's just for that. Then we also have data types. I touched that already. Data types, we have the string. So string is like a normal text. This is it over here. A normal text enclosed in quotes, either single quote or double quote. Those are what we call strings. We have numbers. So numbers are always not having quotes. Yes. If you give a number quote, it means you've changed it to a string. It's no longer a number. Yes. Okay. So if probably you try to add a string to another string, what will happen? Come to this page to see what I'm trying to say. So let me say, for example, we see that we have two numbers here. These are numbers. 40 plus 20 will give us 60. So let me say I want to display number 3 here. Number 3. So I want us to see what I'm trying to say at this point. So you can see we have 60 because from this place we have 40 plus 20. But just because it's a number, and if you turn this to a string, you'll be having 40 20 now. You can see we have 40 20 because you can't add a string to a number. Like a string is more like a text, not a number. So you can't add a string to a number. That's why we have 40 20. So it means it's going to see this as you writing, let's say something like boy. So it's the same thing as boy 20 as what we actually have before, like 40 20. So just don't make the mistake of putting a quote and a number when you tend to make it a number. So we've talked about that as well. We've talked about the boolean as well. So boolean can take true or false. So let's say, for example, we want to say if I'm a student. So let's say const student. So if you want to ask if I'm a student, you can say const student equal to. So you can say either true, a value of true, or a value of false. For example, another example is const tutor equal to false. So you can say that in this one now, we are not putting them in quotes. Yes, because they are not strings, they are boolean. So boolean are like true or false statements whereby you can only have one value at a time. So that's actually how this one actually also works. So we have other ones too, like the arrays, we have objects. So let's say, for example, you have a list of objects, like a list of fruits, for example. So you can have something like let's say let fruits equal to. So if you want to create an array is like a list of something. So when we talk about arrays, we are talking of a list of something like probably you want to list of fruits, or you want to list of vehicles. So like a comma separated list whereby you want to show or highlight many things at once. They are not strings, but they are arrays. But you can put strings inside, you can put numbers inside as well. So let me just show an example. So when you create an array, you make use of the let fruits equal to. Then you have this angle bracket. So an angle bracket is used to contain an array. So it's going to house everything inside the array. So now in this angle bracket or in this square bracket, we can now have, let's say, other things like, let's say, apple. Then each of them is going to have a comma. Each of these things are strings. Look at what I did here. This is actually a string. So you can have a comma, another string, let's say banana, for example. Then you have a comma again, another string, let's say mango. So it means that you have actually created an array. Array is like a list of something. So an array of fruits, according to the name we have here. Then the values are enclosed in a square bracket. And the values we have here, there are 3 strings. Yes, we have apple, we have banana, and mango. If you try to remove these quotes from this, you'll be having an error. Though you wonder why there's no error here, but look at this apple. You see the error I'm talking about. Sometimes errors won't show when the code is running. You see the error when the code. Sometimes errors don't show when the code is compiling. So they show when the code has finished compiling. So you can see we have the error. Apple is not defined because apple is not a variable. Probably if apple was like a variable, like let apple equal to something, then this would actually work. So this is not correct. So we make use of the string method. So we have banana, we have mango. You can actually also have something else like, let's say 12, for example. You can have numbers inside an array. So you can have any data type inside an array. You can even have something like a true. So just anything can be in an array. So that's just for arrays. Then you also have objects too. So those are actually advanced things. I will send the PDF on that. You guys should just try to study and be good to do those things too. So let's not waste time at all. I think, let me see how many minutes we've gone. We've gone about 40 minutes. Wow. So we have a very limited time left. So now we have functions and events. So let me quickly take this as well. So a function is like something that happens, is like a block of code that contains a set of instructions that is going to be triggered at a go. So you get, so probably you have something that you want to happen when so thing is triggered. So what should happen? So probably you want to activate, let me know is what activate. Probably you want to run a whole block of code. So that is where you actually use a function. Let me go back to this our page and show what I'm trying to say. So I can even, okay, let me still leave console open. So to create a function is more like a data type on its own as well. So to create a function, let me come to the JavaScript part again. So to create a function, you make it of the function keyword. There are ways of creating functions, like several ways. One of them is using the function keyword, like let's say function say hello, for example. So say hello is the function name. Yes, it's the function name. This function is just the keyword that's going to come first. The same way we want to create variables, make it of the let, the const, and the var. So when you create a function as well, you make it of the function keyword before the function name itself. Then after the function name, you have a bracket. This thing is getting interesting. You can see JavaScript is a programming language. It requires more effort to learn than normal HTML and CSS. This one are even still simple. So after we have the bracket, now we now have a curly brace again. So this curly brace is going to house everything that we want to put inside this function. Then you can come to the next line. So let me say I want to create a variable inside. So let's say let's text, for example, let text equal to, let me just put something like hello, I am Abdul, for example. So now I've created a variable called text inside this function. That's the first step. So you can actually also now say, okay, let's say for example I want to display this text, I want to console this text in my browser. So you can now say console.log text, for example. So it means that you want to display this text inside your browser. Okay, so this actually won't work because we have not linked this to this page that we are currently working on, which we have our live or our local host, or what is it called, our live server open. So now I said that you can make use of JavaScript inside your HTML by making use of the script element. We have several methods as well. You can choose to import JavaScript file, an external file of JavaScript into your HTML as well. You still make use of this script element, but you now make use of an src attribute. So let me just remove everything here. Then you now have inside this open tag, you have an src attribute that takes you to the location of that JavaScript file. So I think the file is in a parent folder. So we have a dot and a slash. Then we enter into the JavaScript folder, click on enter. Then you have the index.js. Then you do this as well. So we've linked them together, and you can see it has actually started working. And you can see we have a syntax error that says name has already been declared. Okay, been declared. Aha, so what I was talking about earlier, that you can't use the same name, a variable name twice. So we have the variable called name created here already. We now also come over here to create the same variable, the same name again. So I said this is not going to work. So we actually can't do this. But we can do something else by changing the value of the variable to a new value. So, but we won't need to use a const or anything. You can just use name, ordinary name, and it's going to update the value of the previous one to the new one. So you can see that the error is actually gone now. We don't have any error again. So that's just for that. Now you can see this function that I actually created. It is expected to console a text, to show a text in the browser, but the text is not showing up. Why? Because we only created this function, we've not used the function. So we have the function declaration and the function usage. So this is just to create a function. You create a function by using the function keyword, and you put the function name. This can be anything. You can say function CL, you can say function submit button, function submit form, function login user, function. So just use anything of your choice. Same way you have variable names, you can use any text of your choice for variable names. Then we have a bracket after the variable, after the function name. Then you have a curly brace to house everything. So this box or this bracket is actually like the container for the whole scope. So then we have this variable we created with a text, and we want to control this thing. So now it's just to create a function. So how do you make use of the function? We use the function by using the function in the sense that we call this. So you just need to copy this, say hello, and copy, and you can just come over and paste it here. So you come to the later part of, like, after closing your function. then you can now come and paste this. So now it means that we are trying to call this function by using its own name, like the function name itself. Then you have our normal usual bracket, and yeah, so you can see we have it working. Hello, I am Abdul. So basically this is what a function looks like. So a function can be used in many aspects in programming, not only in JavaScript, as I said earlier, that it is used in almost all programming languages, in fact all programming languages. So but the way they are created are different, yes, because different programming languages have different use cases and different syntax. So that is basically how functions work. So the second method of creating a function, I don't want us to go to that, it can even confuse us as beginners. So let me just stick with this function declaration that we have here as function, then the function name, the bracket and the curly brace. You can have things inside. Okay, so this is just I think we have just 15 minutes left, so I'll try to rush things up. Probably we'll be taking the event tomorrow. I'm trying to see if we can have it tomorrow. The things we have tomorrow, yeah, we'll still be taking the event tomorrow, so I can think we can just merge things together tomorrow by putting the events tomorrow, not today anymore. So after taking these functions, so you can see the practical you have, like the assignment is that you should create an alert box. So this is actually, I showed you how to create alert. Just put alert and a bracket. So what do you want to alert? Probably a text or a variable or a number. Then put inside the bracket. That's just how to use alert. Then for the console, this one we touched it already, console.log and a bracket. Then put the data you want to display inside the bracket. So this is just something you just need to do. Just practice this and submit the assignment. Then to round up the functions, yes, to round it up. Now this is just to create the function, and this is how to use the function. As I said earlier, that if you probably cut this and paste it before this, you'll be having a problem. So let me go to our browser and show what I'm trying to say. You can't use a function you've not created. So you need to make sure that a function is actually created and it is utilized. So probably if you remove this or comment it out, it won't work. You won't get that hello I am Abdul, because you only created the function without using the function. And also if you try to use this function without creating this function, you get what I'm trying to say. So you also have an error by saying that say hello is not defined, in the sense that it is not created. So the same thing with variables too. If you are trying to access a variable that is not created, so you are going to have that error of blah 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 is not defined. So I think I've been able to touch a lot of things in JavaScript. A quick recap: JavaScript is the programming language that you can use to add interactivity and responsiveness to our website. In the sense that probably if you want user to interact with the website, or maybe you see a button and when you click on the button, you have something displayed and blah 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 and things like that. So that's actually how we make it of JavaScript. As we advance, you'll see how we make it of JavaScript in the website and how things actually work. Let me just try to show something. Let's say uses of JavaScript in HTML. So you can see some other things as well. So probably we will get more ideas of what I'm trying to say. So let's wait for it to load. So it's one of the things that will make it of like very important for you to master JavaScript as a developer. Not only for front end, when you go to backend, you probably want to work on backend too. You still need to make it in JavaScript, because JavaScript also has frameworks and libraries for backend as well, like Node.js. So you can see what is the meaning of JavaScript. You can see what we have here now. Let's see what this has to tell us. It's still loading. So you can see it is majorly used for image manipulation, form validation. Yes, this is one of the most important uses of JavaScript, form manipulation, and dynamic changes of content. This one is very, very important. So this is what we'll be taking tomorrow. These things that we actually have, that you can see that we have something like we have this DOM manipulation. Yes, so we'll be talking about this tomorrow, God willing. So I don't want us to take more time into this. So I think this should have finished loading also. Oh, it's not showing up already. So you can see, so I think this is actually enough for us for today. So we've learned quite a lot of things. Let me just take us through a quick recap of the things we've learned. So as I said, JavaScript has just definition and the about. So we have variables. Variables are used to store data, and data they are used to store are called data types. So data types in the sense that you can have a number, you can have a string, you can have an integer, you can have a float, you can have a boolean, a function, an array, and many other things as well. So that's just an example of data types. So for the variable names, you can see you can use anything for variable names. And again, I forgot to mention, you can't keep the variable name and give it a space. Let's say you want to create a variable of my name. You can't say my and give it a space. So this is not correct. So you must not give spaces in variable names in JavaScript. That is one. Number two is that you can't use a minus sign in JavaScript to create a variable. So it's because it will see this as a minus. You get, so it sees as a minus, which is not correct, because we are not trying to say minus You are not trying to say my minus name, so this is also not permissible. So you can choose to use it in this format like my name joined together, or use an underscore. So underscore actually works fine. You can actually also use what we call a camel case. So camel case is like you start the first word with small letter, then the next word start with the capital letter, my name. So you get what I'm trying to say. So this is what I mean by camel case. But we also have Pascal case as well, which every first letter of every word starts with the capital letter. So like my name. So you can see this is actually what we mean by camel case. So basically these are the things we've learned today. We also have the variable of age. So this is actually a number. Then we have strings as well. So just any text that is enclosed in a quote, single quote or double quote, that's actually a string. This is also a string as well. So you also have integers as well, which are just normal numbers. We have name. So this is where I showed us how to change the value of the variable. If you declare a variable and you want to change the value of that variable, so you make use of this. You don't need to come over and say probably something again. So you can just come over to just say name equals to Abdul. You don't need to say const name again. Because if you do that now, it's going to see that as if you are trying to create two variables with the same name, and that's actually is a cause for error in JavaScript. So we have an example of adding two numbers together. Number 1, 20, number 2 is 10. So we have a new variable called number 3, which is the addition of number 1 and number 2 together. Then we console.log this number 3, and we saw the result in our browser. Then here I showed us how to create a function. So functions actually are a block of code that are used to perform a particular task. For example, you want to perform a task and you need to organize your code for that particular task. You put everything in a function. Okay, so that's just basically how it works. So basically, if you want to use a function, don't put this function usage above the function declaration. You need to create a function first, because JavaScript works from top to bottom, meaning that if probably our code runs from top to bottom, even in all programming languages. So if you have something like this now, this is going to be seen first by your browser before your browser sees this. So you need to make use of creating the function first before you use the function. I'm trying to just butcher that. So in the function now, we have the function declaration keyword, which is the function itself, and the function name that can actually also be similar to variable names. You cannot put a space in between. This is not allowed. So you can use camel case, Pascal case, or you can even make use of underscore. You can make use of symbols like dollar. Yes, this is actually also allowed. Dollar say hello. And